There's nothing like having a nice cup of tea with good friends. Cheers, Michelle.
Cheers and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, yeah, Merry Christmas. In case you hadn't realised, I'm sitting with Michel Xmas of the Euro Weekly News. I have to say that whenever it's time for me to write my column, I make my cup of tea in my Euro Weekly News mug, because that way I remember, okay, got to do your column, Nicole, do your column, Nicole. So
nothing beats a good cup of tea.
Nothing
First thing in the
beats
morning, last thing at night.
I have to say, and if anything ever happens that kind of goes wrong, it's like, let me just make you a nice cup of tea. No? As if we want to make you not a nice cup of tea. Mind you, it's a good way out of making tea if you don't make a nice cup of tea.
Oh no, coming from the north, and obviously I make a good cup of tea.
Do you drink northern tea, or like just special, that really strong brew from...
No. But I do, I've got to say, I do drink Yorkshire tea or PG tips, but I'm not for all these.
Like really intense teas.
Yes.
I mean, PG tips are totally is my limit. Yeah, it's not into the Worcester scented teas.
People say, well, we've got 23 varieties of teas. I'm like, what? Just give me a PG tip.
Just a cup of tea.
Just a cup of tea. Don't ask me, don't give me a menu with teas.
I kind of think that is like the philosophy of the whole of the Euro Weekly News. It's like a good cup of tea, in the sense of you get what you get, and it's nothing sensational. It's not all bubbly with like the champagne. It's really just a newspaper I kind of remembered as a child.
Yeah.
And I think what a local paper is that the commitment of the paper? Is it like centered on like my show's residents behind the scene? I kind of feel that the Euro Weekly's got that kind of commitment as well.
We've become the paper that people trust, the people that it's familiar with them. I'm not saying that, you know, we bring you the sensationalist news. I'm not saying, but we're there for the community. Our mission is to integrate the community, not to divide it. So some people say we're a clappy, happy newspaper, but I don't actually see the point of bringing you constantly bad news, because life is hard. You know, we can have ups and we can have downs, and everybody has those periods in their life. So when you pick up your local newspaper, you don't want to know other people's bad things. You just want to know, okay, that's good. A group of people got together and raised this money. A group of people got together, a success story. So when you're feeling down, you actually think, yeah, I will carry on. And that's what we're about.
Well, I understand there's obviously international news and there's things that go on that one has to report, and not everything's like happy-go-lucky. But I do like the ethos of that it's not necessary to slag off anyone local just for the sake of sensationalism. But I think that's kind of like, as I say, from people have an opinion about the paper. Many have an opinion about you too. And one of the other things I admire is how it's like, not water off a duck's back because it has to hurt, but how you're so secure in yourself, and when you haven't been, how you admit that really is such an, I think, I don't know, it's just an inspiration for the rest of us, that we can be real people, have real problems, still have to go to work, still have to carry on, and yet somehow see it through. So can I ask you, Michelle, what is your secret? Where did you come from?
Coming from Rochdale, actually. No, the thing is, yes, it does hurt. People, and I try very much, I've done it in the past, I'm sure you've done it. You actually see somebody and you make a prejudgment, and you actually say, oh, that person's this and that person's that. And until you get to know, how many times have you said, oh God, that person's nothing like I imagined they were? And that's half the problem being in a public figure. You know that, but very few people know that I've got 3 dogs, Doris, Dennis and Percy. The love of my life is my husband, always has been. But life's hard. You know, people do have family fallouts. They do have sisters and brothers they don't see. They do fall out with the parents. They do argue about money. You know, men do have midlife crisis. Women do have menopause. We're not unique. So, but we can understand. So when you're so if I ring you up one day and you're a bit snappy, I don't have to think, you know, oh God, she's miserable. I have to think, oh, what's she going through? And, you know, every time life kicks you, you know one thing's for sure, it's never consistent. So you might kick you today, but tomorrow you've got to like fly high again. And I do believe that. I genuinely believe that. And I believe that of all of our residents. If we had a choice, we all have something in our lives we wouldn't want on the front page. be it. And like when we were 17 and we had that blind date and it went wrong, or we got drunk.
Are we lucky that we didn't have the social media?
Are we just?
In the day?
Are we just?
We really saved ourselves on that one.
But for me, that is part of people, and if they want to tell you, they'll tell you. But it's not your right to put it on the front page, and it's not your right to talk about it either. So if there's 6 of us having a cup of tea, you know, and somebody's having a bad time, let's say, how can we help her, rather than let's say, oh, right, well, it served her right. And I am genuine in that.
You're a solution finder as opposed to spotting the problem. It's more like, let's just see what we can do about it. And that is certainly your motto now. Has it always been that way? Have life taken you through circumstances that brought you to this wisdom?
Well, obviously, I mean, as you know, I was diagnosed 12 years ago with CML.
What's CML for those
chronic myeloid leukemia. And that, it was a fight for life. And they told us right at the beginning, it's a 5-year illness. And then there's only one resolution. And seeing the people having the chemotherapy, going through the national health system of this country, and please trust me when I say it is the best, I think then you start to preoccupy yourself on things that actually matter. And okay, things can be tough. You know, everybody's worried about Brexit. People are worried about what they're going to spend at Christmas. People are saying to me, where are you going for Christmas? Do you know what? So long as I'm with my husband, my 3 dogs, hopefully my son, but he's a bit colourful, as you know, my grandchildren, I'm really not concerned. And nothing's that bad. It's bad when you lose your partner. That's bad. It's bad when your partner loses the fight for their life. That's bad. But anything else, I think we can cope with, can't we?
Puts everything into perspective.
So, of course it does. So what does it matter if we don't have a turkey this year? So if there's just you and I, and money's a bit short, we can have a nice piece of toast and a good cup of tea, and we can actually talk. We don't have to go out and be seen. You know, we've got to remember we're us. We don't need that reaffirmation. Everybody sees us out and about. It's beautiful if you can have it, but life doesn't run like that. So for the people who are on their own, I will say, there's not just yourself. There's a lot of people on their own this Christmas. But you're not. If you step outside your door, walk along the promenade, somebody will talk to you.
Hey, hey. I think that it's a lot to do is the attitude, isn't it? In the sense, if you have a positive attitude, you have a survival attitude, and you have a very individual attitude. And obviously, that's admirable in the sense that you're comfortable in your own skin. What you're saying is basically going for what's real as opposed to the appearances. And we live in a perfect city for appearances taking priority.
It's all bollocks, though, isn't it?
What's your advice for Christmas, as you're sharing your innermost secrets to those who are unknown? It could be on your own because you're old, or on your own because you're separated, or on your own because of someone's away and your children aren't with you because they're visiting the in-laws, whatever the reason. Dealing with being on one's own is difficult. It's easier said than done, to like one's own company.
Especially at this time of the year. But as I said to somebody this morning, forget Facebook. Facebook has got its virtues, but the one thing it will always give you is that perfect life. And that perfect life doesn't exist. Husbands will leave wives, wives will leave husbands. That's life. Children will fall out with us, parents will fall out. It is life. So don't look on Facebook for your answers. Look in your mirror. Look at yourself on Christmas Day. Make yourself look smart. If you're a man, put your tie on. If you're a woman, put a bit of makeup on for you. And then if you get to feel lonely, take that step out. Or even better, ring somebody. Because we all think, oh, I'm not going to ring Nicole because Nicole's got all these friends, she's really self-sufficient, and I'm just intruding on her. Actually, you might really appreciate that phone call. I was talking to a lady this morning, and that's what she said. And I actually viewed her as somebody who had a huge circle of friends, that life was wonderful for her, she never complains, everything's good. And she said, I'm on my own. And that really struck me, and I thought, Michelle, why do you still presume? Why do you presume just because you see it on Facebook, you never hear them complain that they actually don't need help. We all need help.
And I think that is actually a very big factor. What you say is that everyone thinks it's only happening to them. Everybody thinks that everybody else's life is perfect. And if we just communicated a little bit more
That's right.
didn't think about ego, image, and actually spoke to each other, it would make a big difference.
I'm a great believer in, and it doesn't make me friends, I've got to say, it makes me more enemies than friends, but don't tell somebody else. If you've got a problem, tell the person you've got a problem with, but don't leave any grey areas in your life. Don't put up with being treated badly by anybody. Actually get out there and say it, you know, and that's a bit of what's reflected in the newspaper. We're not going to sensationalise anything, but we will support this community. We are in to integrate into this community, but so am I. So I'm here, I'm fortunate, I'm still with the man I adore. And nobody can say to me, it's been 25 years of easy sailing and plain sailing. No, it hasn't. Marriage has got to be worked at if you both want it. But I still am as in love with him as I was the day I met him. But I know how lucky I am. But that don't mean to say I can't share some of that love with you or somebody else or somebody else. I might not have the money to take you all on a Caribbean holiday, but we can always sit round and have a cup of tea.
No. Well, they always say you can only give people what you have. You have lots of love, lots of joy, very brilliant brain, very hard working. So you obviously have a lot to give to our community, and I can only just say thank you. I love my Marbella Moments column in the Euro Weekly News, give myself a plug. I love having that ability to express whatever it may be. And
you express it in a proper way, in a correct way. And publishing is a responsible business. It really is. And don't get me wrong, we're never ever going to change the world in regional newspapers. Let's not put ourselves on a pedestal and say we're like mini gods. No, we're not. We should be a friend dropping in. But when the new world and the new journalists and the new people think that it's their place to destroy this community, I will shout out. I've not got to the age I have without caring for the people in it.
And one person can make a difference, we all know that, and it's up to people to speak out when we don't agree with things. Ethics rules, rules don't.
That's right.
I will say, well, you know, I was going to say cheers to that, but I tell you what, I've been looking at these beautiful bells, and you can ring my bell.
Merry Christmas to all of our listeners, to all of our people out there, and to all of our readers. Please, though, don't be alone this Christmas. There are lots of us around. Just pick up a phone. Don't be fooled by Facebook. And don't believe everything you read. You actually do live on a wonderful coast with wonderful people. Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas.